Let's start with grid prices beginning on January 1st, 2023 through today, Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023, for both PJM Penelec, which is the zone of the PJM grid where Scrubgrass is located, and PJM PPL, which is where Panther Creek is located. So when we compare both of those zones in the grid and we do the math, it comes out to an average grid price year to date of $31.18. Now, for the same period, okay, year to date, January 1st through today, Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023, Bitcoin priced in dollars per megawatt hours is $74.51. So as you can see, there is a considerable spread that exists between where grid prices are at and where Bitcoin priced in dollars per megawatt hours happen to be. So that spread is really our opportunity as a company. It's our opportunity to really drive as much electricity through that spread as we can, right? As many megawatts of electricity through that spread as we can, so as to generate as much profitable revenue as possible. So I'm cautiously optimistic that we are doing so because it makes mathematical sense to do so. And so as a result of that, we are doing very well now in 2023, despite the fact there are a tremendous number of challenges that we are facing, both individually as a company, but also collectively as a part of the broader financial markets as a whole. There's a lot of turbulence in the markets. Now, interestingly, on Friday, December 30th, 2022, the last trading day of the year 2022, Stronghold Digital Mining, our stock closed at 48 cents a share. That's a dramatic fall from grace, from where we first came public at and where our all-time high happens to be, which, if memory serves me, is $35.80 a share. Nevertheless, we are up over 30% so far in 2023. So our stock closed today, Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023, at 63 cents a share. So as compared to where we closed on Friday, December 30th, 2022, to today, we are up actually 31.25%. That is really, really good. Now, understandably, right, we're coming off of a very low bottom, but still, every year has to be judged by itself. So when we look at how we are performing as a stock and we compare ourselves to the broader market, to other companies, we're doing really well. So I'm encouraged by that. I certainly think we have a lot more room to run. And that's especially true if we start getting some documented positive financial results, which I anticipate we're going to be getting fairly soon. And I also think that our momentum will keep building if we are able to demonstrate, as we've done so far, that we're able to execute on our plans and that we're able to really take advantage of market conditions, whatever they happen to be. Because let's face it, we've been operating in a very tumultuous environment, as I alluded to before. And that's not going to change. We're going to continue to operate in a very, very difficult environment for the foreseeable future. So, one thing we need to be careful of, or at least be hopeful that we don't find ourselves caught up in, is something that I read today. It's called being caught in a swirl of luckless circumstances. Caught in a swirl of luckless circumstances. Now, this relates very specifically to a local news story that I read, a great piece of journalism that had to do, to make it, to sort of like summarize this in a fairly succinct way. A family received a 2-week notice that their home was unfit for human habitation and that it would need to be vacated because the city was going to be demolishing the dwelling. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. And so these, what seemed like really wonderful people find themselves in a really just being caught in a swirl of luckless circumstances. And my heart goes out to this family in a very genuine way. And it caused me to think about how really any one of us, and specifically I'm thinking about our company, Stronghold Digital Mining, right? How, we're only a couple of bad moves away from potentially finding ourselves really caught up in a swirl of potentially luckless circumstances. Now, we're doing everything that we can, right, to control the variables that we have the potential to control. So when it comes to cost containment, we're doing that. When it comes to figuring out if we can generate some additional revenue through the sale of Class F fly ash, which is an industrial byproduct of our reclamation work, we're doing that. When it comes to really saying, hey, we're looking at our data centers, can we organize them in a way so that our most efficient miners are put into service when grid pricing or our own generation capacity is such that it makes sense to do so, versus maybe then de-emphasizing some of our less efficient miners within our fleet. So there's that degree of sophistication built into the data center. That's something that's within our control. Are we taking advantage of potential opportunities to enter into longer term agreements, hosting agreements with partners? And we're doing that, right? We extended our Foundry relationship for upwards of 2 years. Are we, undertaking the very difficult but necessary types of dialogue with our lending partner, right? To figure out, hey, Whitehawk, how can we collaborate? How can we craft a solution that's mutually beneficial, right? You're going to probably make a lot more money having us, be a going concern, right? And we're going to obviously benefit as a company if we remain a going concern. Hey, how can we put our heads together to come up with a win-win modification to some of our debt agreements? And we've done that, and these are truly win-win circumstances, right? Whitehawk wins, we win, our staff wins, right? People who are on the payroll, they win. I mean, we want to stay in business. We're here because we believe in the mission of our company, right? Those of us who are shareholders, right? Those of us who are co-owners in this business, our financial future as it relates to this investment, it's largely tied up with this company surviving. Now, there are quite a few of us, not me, but I'm just saying, amongst those who talk about Stronghold Digital Mining, there's a trader contingent. There are individuals and institutions even who enjoy using this stock as a speculative trading vehicle. And you know what? I think that's awesome because it increases liquidity. It actually helps bring attention to our company, which is vitally important. And I do think that amongst some individuals and institutions, there will be a transitional process whereby I think there are going to be some people who say, you know what? I'm so sick and tired of trying to time this darn thing. Yes, it's very volatile. The stock moves in incredibly wild ways. And yeah, there's a tremendous amount of profit to potentially be derived by timing one's trades to take advantage of that. Pardon me. But there's a greater advantage to saying, hey, you know what? Now that I've sort of learned more about this company, I really do actually think they have a long-term future. I think they're going to be one of the winners that come out of this crypto winter. Hey, why don't I just actually hold on to some stock? The big issue that we're going to be running into here, it's not a matter of more people buying our stock. It's just a matter of more people deciding not to sell as much of it. Hey, maybe I still want to trade a bit, but you know what? Maybe I should pick up 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 shares or whatever an individual or institution might feel comfortable with. Hey, maybe I'll pick up 1 million shares, right? Maybe I'll even pick up 2 million shares. It's up to the individual. It's up to the institution. But I think there's going to be a point where there are going to be more people who decide, hey, I'm just sick and tired of trading this thing. I just want to hold on to this thing and I want to see what happens as the stock continues to appreciate in value. I can actually make more money holding on to this thing and riding the wave than I will attempting to time my entries and exits and potentially missing, opportunities to just say, hey, I'm going to hold on because there are individuals who say, hey, I'm going to sell the stock and I'm sort of gambling that I can get back in at a lower price. Well, what if that lower price never comes? Think about how that's going to feel. You were in this name, right? And then it's like, oh gosh, the stock's up, 31% now, year to date. Maybe in another 3 months, it's up 125% year to date. Maybe in about 7 or 8 months, hey, who knows? Maybe it's up 400 to 500% year to date. Nobody knows. But that's going to be a really crappy feeling to think, gosh, I owned this stock at, 50, 60, 70, 80 cents a share, and I kept trading it in and out, and then finally it just slipped out of my hands. Now it's trading at $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7 a share, and it's like, what the heck? I could have been in this thing for under $1. We're still trading at 63 cents today. That's incredibly cheap, in my opinion. And so I do think that the market will start having more and more people who, yeah, sure, there still might be trading, hey, I'm going to trade a couple shares here and there, whatever. That's great. That's awesome. But I do think there is going to be that migration to saying, hey, man, I'm just going to hold on to this thing. I can make an astronomical amount of money just holding on to this thing, not trying to time my entry points and exit points and then, pulling my hair out when this thing skyrockets on me and I sold because I thought I could get in at a cheaper price. It's not worth that gamble. I certainly, speaking for myself, I'd be, it would be very difficult, both emotionally and mentally, to be in that modality where I'm just trading in and out of this thing, knowing what I know, knowing the incredible future that I believe at least this company has the potential to live up to, to say, oh, hey, I'm going to sell my shares so that I could, maybe pick them up for 10 cents cheaper, but at the same time risk having that be the week where, sentiment finally starts to change, the name gets re-rated a bit, and, suddenly we're at $1.50, and I'm like, man, what was I thinking? So I think we're going to see more of that. So far, though, it's a very volatile stock, as you know, but I'm incredibly encouraged by all the things that we've done as a company to try to keep ourselves out of that very, very frustrating loop, right, of being caught in a swirl of luckless circumstance, which as individuals we could, fall into, and that would really be terrible, as is the case with this family that I read about today. But certainly as a company, that so many people rely upon, right, for a paycheck. Shareholders, hey, we want to see a return on investment. Lenders want to see the company succeed. Everybody wants to see Stronghold Digital Mining succeed, except maybe some short sellers, right, who would love to see the stock go to zero. I'm sorry, but I don't see that happening.